Hi, welcome. My name's Delaney Byro. I am the student therapist at FIU. Can you please tell me your name and your age, please?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Gio. I am 17.
Okay, hi, Gio. What brings you in today?
I was coming in because I've been feeling really down. I had a really difficult time with a recent breakup. He was definitely my first, real love, and I've been having a really difficult time dealing with, all of the emotions that have come after the breakup. I just feel like I'm always sad and intensely sad and constantly like inconsolably crying. And I don't know, my parents thought maybe it would be a good idea for me to come in and talk to someone.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. So I want to ask a question. I ask this question to everyone because most people that come in feeling this unconsolable sadness and depression also report feeling thoughts about suicide or killing themselves. Have you ever had these thoughts?
So I don't know, I guess in a way I've never like stopped and thought that I'm going to kill myself, but I have thought like, especially through all of this, like maybe it would be better if I didn't wake up the next day. And I have been, I don't know, with the sadness, in order to cope, I've started like really self-harming. Um, so I've been cutting myself.
Okay. And what do you use when you are performing the self-harm with cutting?
So normally I use just a blade from, one of those box openers that I took so no one would notice, since there's so many. It's like easy to take without it looking like something's missing and alarming anyone, as I didn't want anyone to know.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so just that.
And do you usually carry that with you everywhere, or do you usually have it at your home only?
I leave it at home. I'm afraid of what other people would think, and people already are looking at me a little weird because I'm just constantly sad, and I don't know, I don't want to add a layer of worry by carrying around the blade also, so I just leave it in my room.
Okay. And when you do think about these activities, is there a specific event or thought that you usually think of, or is it just because of this breakup, that's why you're feeling it's necessary?
Yeah, if I'm honest, saying like I know I'm young, but I really thought like this, you know, was my person, and just the idea of not having like him in my life the rest of my life, or the fact that we have ended our relationship, like just thinking of that, in order to like stop the thoughts or like cope with the idea, I'll cut myself.
Okay. And and how often are you doing this?
Pretty frequently, definitely several times a week. Just it's hard because we go to the same school, so coming home, I've seen him several times throughout the day. We're not talking. It just makes me feel helpless.
Okay. And when was the last time you did perform the cutting?
From now, probably a few days ago, maybe 2 or 3 days ago.
Okay. And when you're at school, is that something that kind of triggers you because you're seeing him more often, or are you feeling this kind of more at home? And when you do think about this, is the thought of going further than just harming yourself in the back of your mind? I know you said it earlier that you just sometimes think that it would be easier if you weren't here. But is that what's like kind of like triggering it?
Being at school and being around him and even the people we used to hang out with together is super triggering. I'd say it's the biggest trigger. I never do it out of like wanting to go further. I, you know, I am glad to be talking about the fact that I felt like I don't want to wake up the next day because it feels like I'm getting a weight off my shoulders, but I've never like stopped to make a plan or like decided I'm going to go further, if that makes sense. At least not like a concrete decision, but it's definitely been a passing thought.
Okay. And although you don't have a specific plan, have you ever thought of something specific that you would use if you were to kill yourself?
Yeah, I think maybe having the blade in my room doesn't really help. Um, since it's already so accessible, like the thought has been, I guess, that that would be the easiest way out, although I don't think that I would ever do it.
Okay. And have you ever talked to any of like, so you live at home, are both your parents at home together still?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I live with both my parents.
And have you ever felt like you could talk to them, or have you ever talked to them about these actions?
I think it's hard to talk to them. I think I brought it up a little to my mom, and she seemed understanding of me feeling bad in general because of the breakup. But I think, I don't know, I guess the idea just makes me nervous that they'll think I'm overreacting because I'm still in high school. So,
And do you feel like you have someone in your life, or have you already told someone in your life, maybe a close friend, teacher, anything like that? Do you feel like someone's there in your life that you would be able to express these feelings to?
I've talked to my best friend a little bit about the self-harm and my feelings, and she helps a lot. She comes by and will just sit with me when I don't feel well, even if I'm not willing to do anything. I think that helps a lot.
Okay. And when you do have these thoughts, is there ever something that maybe helps them lessen a little bit? Maybe watching TV, maybe going for a run? Is there anything that you do that kind of helps that?
Yeah, definitely things that distract me, like going back to my hobbies. I don't know, I really enjoy, being around my friends helps a lot. So I'm glad that my best friend is willing to come over and just sit with me. I go on a lot of long walks with my dog. I think that helps clear my head a little bit too, and just, reading books and stuff.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that. Um, and I want to thank you for just kind of opening up about this and just letting me know what your thoughts are in regards to the situation that's going on. I also wanted to ask, have you ever heard about the Florida's 24-hour hotline for suicide and crisis?
No, I've never heard of it.
Okay, so it's you can text it, you can call it. The number's 988 if you want to write it down. I would want you to call this number if you ever had any thoughts or um, any crisis that you feel you're going to harm yourself or you are going to commit suicide in between our sessions. And then in our next session, I just want to go over a little bit more of kind of like safety planning and kind of find something that will be able to um, help you when you are feeling low and unconsolably sad. All right.
Yeah, I think that helps. Thank you.
All right. I'm very happy and again, thank you so much for sharing with me. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Connor. It's nice to see you today. How are you feeling?
Good, average, I'll say. But thank you for asking.
Of course. If you can kind of think back of like, your recent time and you're coming in to see me today, what have you been feeling that maybe motivated this feeling to come in?
Um, Lately I don't feel much enthusiasm for life. As you can see, I'm already old and very few things interest me nowadays. Before I used to do a lot of things. I used to have many hobbies, but lately I don't find interest in them. I I feel bored most of the time.
Do you think there was anything that maybe triggered that change, or is it just kind of come out of nowhere?
I think it's coming with age. So every time as you age, there are less things that your body can do. There are less things that um I can do with my family. Well, lately I feel like I'm a burden to my family. But yeah, I don't know. Before I used to run, I used to go hiking with friends. Now it's an activity that it's really hard for me to do, and my health is not it's not letting me do it.
Okay, I think I understand where you're coming from. You're kind of feeling the physical weights of time, and it's starting to affect your mental health a bit.
Yeah, yeah, I'll say that.
Okay. Well, when you think about that, how strong of that mental effect are you feeling? Have you been feeling, just a little irritated, a little upset, or very down, very pushed down by this?
I've been feeling really down.
Okay.
Yeah, I sometimes I feel I don't have any purpose to be here.
Okay. Well, that kind of leads me to a question that's commonly asked in therapy. It might sound a little tough, but have you had any thoughts of suicidality, anything along that line?
Um, I sometimes it comes through my mind the thought of maybe just ending in it for all. Um, but it's something that it's just a thought. It's I haven't really made the action to it.
Okay. Kind of just a fleeting thought, not necessarily a plan that you're making, right?
Correct.
Okay. So how often do you kind of feel that pressure, that thought of, maybe I'm better off not being here? Is that common, or is it something that comes and goes, or is it, you wake up every morning and that's your first thought?
It's something it's a thought that is present. When I drink alcohol, it's more present, it's more intense, but I'll say it comes and go. But lately, for the past few months, it's been present
Okay. So
more than
you'd say it's gotten a little bit worse as time keeps weighing on. It's you're starting to feel that more presently rather than just that fleeting thought.
correct.
Okay. Well, when you feel that way, is there anything that you do for yourself to try to cope, or is it overwhelm you? How do you go about dealing with these thoughts?
I've been drinking alcohol. It helps me cope with my feelings. It's sometimes relaxes me.
Okay. When you think about the drinking, do you think it's, a safe, good coping mechanism? Do you feel like you're in control, or do you think it's kind of starting to take its own personality?
I think it's starting to take its own personality.
Okay.
It's yeah, no, I do not have control over it. But it has been doing it lately, and for the past month, that's all I've been doing.
So it sounds like we need to work on some better coping mechanisms. This alcohol, as I'm sure you know, it might catch up if you continue with that path. With that in mind, is there anything you can think of that maybe triggers these thoughts, these feelings, anything that makes it worse?
Um, well, my marriage is not as good as it used to be. My relationship with my husband, it's we don't talk much. Our conversation has a lot of breakdowns. Um, and my family, I do have a lot of love for them. I care about them. But sometimes I feel like I'm just a burden for them.
Yeah, it's a hard thought to have, but unfortunately a more common one than a lot of people realize. As we continue on into this process, we'll definitely address that thought. For right now, I want to keep kind of diving into, maybe making a safety plan and making sure that you're coping with these thoughts in a more productive manner. So you think your relationship and your family's kind of been a big trigger for that. With that in mind, is there anything you can think of that, maybe helps in the opposite way rather than alcohol, where you can deal with these thoughts when you're not drinking?
I like fishing.
Fishing? Okay. That's a healthy outlet. It's a good distraction. Do you feel when you're out there fishing and you're on your own that you're just kind of on your own and those thoughts are peaceful and you don't have those same worries?
Yeah, yeah. When I fish, it's late. It's the only time when I'm not thinking about hurting myself.
Okay. So it sounds like there's some opportunity for some good outlet here, and we can definitely work together to kind of cope with these thoughts and redirect that energy into a more positive direction. So, continuing on that path, though, just making sure that you're safe, is there anyone that you feel comfortable reaching out to when you do feel these thoughts, if they get overwhelming?
Um, just I call my brother once and then, and when we talk, I let him know about how I feel, and I feel I can trust him. I can talk with my brother. My brother will be my support.
Okay, that's great. I'm glad you have somebody that you feel comfortable not only talking to, but knowing that they have your back if you need it. Um, how does the idea of maybe having your brother check in a little more often sound? Is that something we could maybe work on?
That would be great. Uh, I like that idea. I like hanging out with him. I feel less alone.
Okay. Then maybe going through these sessions, we can maybe reach out to your brother and get you guys a more consistent communication going. Try to revive some of these relationships that you feel are struggling. That's what I hope to help you with here, and to kind of wave off those negative thoughts you're having. Um, so continuing on with the suicidality, I just want to make sure you're absolutely safe. I know you have some coping methods that you feel like can work, and you have someone you're comfortable reaching out to. But at the end of this session, I'll give you some resources. And if you ever feel you're in a pinch, there's a suicide hotline with the numbers 988. You can reach out there at any moment, any time of the day. Um, Other than that, is there anything strong that you're feeling that you want to let me know about, or are you ready for moving on?
I think I'm ready for moving on, and thank you very much. I'm excited to plan this with you and find a way to stop this negativity in my life.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Genesis Borges. I'll be doing the therapist role play for case 3. So hi. Um, Last time we spoke, you were having some frustrations, some troubles concerning your vocational life. What brings you up to therapy today?
I haven't been feeling quite myself, and I'm feeling a lot of pressure from I guess the outside world, and I don't like how I'm being viewed right now, and it's affecting how I'm feeling towards others.
When you say you don't like how you're being viewed, what are you referring to?
My main source of that kind of feeling comes from my coworkers. My peers at work, people that I would think were my friends, but lately I've been feeling more and more like they just lack respect for me. And that they just really aren't aren't there for me, and they look down on me.
And how does that makes you feel?
Uh, I get mixed emotions. Sometimes it can make me feel a little sad or upset or even depressed, but other times I feel angry, and I feel like I need to do something about it. I need to stand out somehow and change their minds. But right now coming to you today, I kind of feel that mix of, I'm upset that I'm being treated like that, and I feel angry about it.
When you feel like you have to do something about it, um, these actions, do you think it will give you recognition among your peers?
Maybe it's recognition, and maybe it's just a way to earn respect. I just know that I feel like something needs to change is the number one thing that I think. Um, they seem to continue to put me down and kind of dismiss my interest, dismiss me as a person, and that lack of respect is catching up.
Okay. So you've mentioned several things, of feeling like overlooked, without respect, and so I would like to ask you a few questions just to understand if you have any thoughts about maybe like hurting yourself or hurting others. Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay. Have you ever had any thoughts of harming someone?
No, I don't want to say fully yes because I don't feel like I've ever really thought deeply about it, but I'd be lying if I said I haven't had passing thoughts regarding the situation.
Okay. And how often will you say these thoughts come to your mind?
Maybe once or twice a week, um, after maybe a rough day of work or just a moment of complete disrespect. It's usually reactive and not necessarily something I'm just sitting on, but it does feel like it's starting to happen more and more often.
Okay. And do you ever consider the possibility of acting on these thoughts?
Not deeply. I know I really, in a way, have the means. I have weapons at my disposal if I really wanted to do something negative, but I've never given a full deep consideration to something like that.
Okay. And have you ever thought of using your weapons to maybe defend yourself or make a change in your environment?
I've had the thought, yeah. I haven't pursued the thought or entertained it, but I've definitely had the passing thought.
And just if you mind me asking, how easy is for you to access this weapon?
It's pretty easy. I have kind of a collection of weapons. They could be called antique weapons that I have at home. Um, and even though they are old antique, they are definitely I can acknowledge as dangerous.
Okay, okay. And again, I just need to ask a few questions. If you feel uncomfortable, please let me know and maybe we can talk about it. But have you ever hurt or threatened someone before?
Not directly, no.
Okay. And as you mentioned before, that many of these thoughts are reactive to a situation. Some people, when they are upset or they are angry, they may feel agitated, impulsive. So, do you feel you can act out of anger? If this situation with your coworkers happen again, or it happens more often?
I don't think I would, and I don't feel like I would, but I also can't deny that the thoughts have come more reactive recently than I would say they have. I feel like I might be reaching a boiling point a little bit.
And when do you feel these thoughts are more intense?
Usually right after, something happens, whether it's like I'm being laughed at or I'm just being ignored, I'll react in a negative way and I don't show it. It's inward, but I have the turmoil when I leave the whatever's going on.
Okay. And will you say something is preventing you for acting up? And if it's something is or someone, will you say what it is or who it is?
It's I think I know in my gut and my morals that it's not something I want to do, and I know that it's wrong, but just having the thought alone is enough to make me a little worried. Um, and I can feel that anger, like I said before, kind of boiling more and more that I don't know how much more I can keep relying on just my own morals.
Have you ever talked about this with someone else?
No, this has been something I've just held to myself.
And if I may ask, who will you consider your support system?
I can talk to my sisters, and I've expressed to them, the frustration with work and how I'm feeling, but I haven't expressed any of these direct thoughts that we're talking about now.
Okay. Well, thank you for being open with me. So based on what you're telling me, I would like to work with you to create a safety plan that will make you and others feel more safe. Maybe we can find some coping strategies. Maybe we can talk about how these comments, what you're experiencing, and maybe we can both come up with a plan for you to feel better and for others to also feel safe. And maybe we can also talk about how we can store your weapons in a safe place just to prevent harming yourself and others. But overall, this is what I'm planning to do with you. Sounds good for you?
Yeah, I think it's necessary. So
Okay. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to develop this new plan with you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Georgette Castro, and I'm going to be the therapist for case 4, and my client is going to be Noella. Then, hi, good afternoon. It's really nice to see you again. Just as a reminder, my name is Georgette Castro, and I'm one of the student therapists here with FIU's counseling department. I wanted to touch back on some of the things that we were talking about last session. I know you were telling me, some things about the anger you were feeling, and just wanted to circle back on that. How have you been feeling lately?
Honestly, very angry. I've been getting into fights and I recently got fired from my job. So honestly, just not good at all. Very, very angry.
Okay, gotcha. I know we talked about this previously. So what's going on with your job? What is it that has you so angry, particularly about the situation with work?
Um, like I said, I got fired recently and my boss has been getting on my nerves. I wish he would disappear and just hopefully I could get my job back, but and I'm getting into fights with my girlfriend. It's just not good at home.
Okay. When you say that you wish that your boss could disappear, what do you mean by that?
I just feel like I don't want him to be around. He's kind of the reason why I lost my job. I feel like it wasn't fair. And I was mistreated during my time at my job. And I feel like it would be me getting even if he would just disappear.
Sure. So I understand the feeling of anger that you're expressing. Because you're expressing some anger, I do just want to ask you a few questions and assess a few things. So when people are feeling really down or they feel really angry, they either like to think of, most people like to think of hurting themselves or hurting someone else. So I just want to make sure that, some of this either does or doesn't apply to you so that we can address it together. Have you ever thought about, when you get this angry, hurting yourself or hurting anybody else?
Not myself, but I do have thoughts about hurting other people sometimes, most times.
Okay, sure. Have you ever acted on any of those thoughts?
Um, yes and no, not when it comes to my boss, but I have gotten mad at my girlfriend and we've gotten into physical fights and domestic situations before.
Okay, got it. And when you have been have or because you've been experiencing that anger at work, have you felt like maybe some of that anger that you experienced during those physical fights at home has been bleeding into your work? Do you feel like you could act on any of those feelings?
Um, yeah, I feel like it's been bleeding into work and there might be a chance of me acting on it if somebody really gets me angry. So it's kind of just like one simple wrong move would set me off.
Okay. Yeah. Then honestly, just want to make sure we go over a couple of things. Then I know you're expressing anger explicitly, but have you ever felt like maybe, you're experiencing any depressive symptoms? Like on top of feeling the anger, do you ever feel like you're ever very sad, inconsolable, unable to get out of bed?
No, just angry.
Okay. And so you've never attempted anything like hurting yourself or killing yourself, nothing like that?
No.
Okay, got it. And do you ever do anything additional in order to try and cope with that anger? Do you feel like you reach for anything external or, meet with anybody specific?
No, I don't really have any support system, any family around, so it's just me. And I'm hoping we can figure some stuff out together in this session or the next. But so far, no one else, no other hobbies that could alleviate the stress or the anger, just me and myself.
Okay. Then no support system, I understand, but no drug or alcohol use, anything like that to quell the feelings?
No.
Okay, understood. And I know that you're saying the anger right now is stemming less from your situation at home, it's bleeding out more into work. Have you ever had or thought of a concrete plan to, hurt your boss? I know you're saying you want him to disappear, but anything specific?
Um, no, I've threatened him before, but I never like actually taken action towards him to harm him in any way, but just like vague threats, I would say.
Sure. And if you don't mind telling me, what kind of a threat did you levy against him?
I would just get super angry at him and I would be like, like catch me outside or like sleep with one eye open or something. Just to get him to be scared of what I would do to him because he got me mad and he's the reason why I kind of lost my job.
Okay. Yeah. And do you have any access to anything that, could exacerbate the anger and maybe make you act out in a way that would, I don't know, take the situation further, like weapons or anything similar?
No.
Okay. Got it. Um, All right, then I do just want to, before we, move on to anything else, I think it would be good to talk about establishing some sort of safety plan, just so that the next time or any future times you experience any sort of really aggressive feelings, we can try and, levy them and work on it while you're not in session, and then we can keep working on it while you're in session. Do you think you'd be comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay. And I know a lot of this is happening at work currently. So, is there anything that you feel like you do when you get very angry to try and calm yourself down?
Um, Not that I think I can think of, honestly. I don't have any coping skills or anything that would help me calm down when I'm experiencing those feelings.
Okay, then that might be the first step we take at the end of the session. We can try and identify some coping strategies, maybe some mindfulness techniques, and maybe reaching out to people might help. I know you said you don't have a support system. Do you currently not, are you living alone or do you live with anyone at home?
Just with my girlfriend, and things are not good between us either. We've got into physical fights, so it's not the
Yeah.
healthiest environment, I would say.
Okay, so she's living with you. Understood. Do you maybe have a friend that when you feel bad you could reach out to?
Yes, I think so. We haven't talked in a while, but I'm sure they would answer.
Okay, that's good. Then we can add that in here to our safety plan. The next time you feel, very overt aggression, you can definitely sit down and reach out to that person to talk about that anger. Um, I think that would be great. On top of that, I do just want to mention there are a number of resources outside of, even therapy and your support system that we're talking about. there are some hotlines. There is one that deals with not just the harm, to others, but the harm to yourself in case it ever extends to that. It's the Florida Crisis Hotline. It would be, easily reachable if you want to write it down. It's 988. I also want to mention that just more specific to your case, there is a violence prevention hotline that you can take down also. It's an 888 number, but I can give that to you as well at the end of the session since it's not as easy to remember. It's that like that 988. Um, but they like to focus on the fact that anger is temporary, but your actions are forever, which is a good thing to remember because in the moment you're feeling that anger, that's something good to tell yourself so you can stop and maybe reach out to one of those resources until we have our next session. And of course, I think we should just work on some more coping strategies in the sessions to come so we can help you deal with that anger going forward. Do you think that sounds good?
Yes, I would like that. I'm looking forward to our next session so we can get into more details about what's going on with me. But I'm looking forward to the resources you send me.
Okay, great. I'm glad to hear that.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Noella, and I'm one of the counselors in training at the FIE Psychology Department. Can you start with your name and age, please?
Hi, I'm Delaney and I'm 23.
Okay, and nice to meet you. Could you tell me a little bit about why you're here today and how you're feeling?
Well, I'm feeling pretty angry for the last probably few months, or probably the last few weeks, I would say. I just got fired from my job a few weeks ago. It's kind of why I'm pretty angry right now. Um, but yeah, it's pretty much it. Just getting a few fights here and there, with my girlfriend, but just feeling pretty frustrated with everything going on in my life.
Okay, and I'm sorry to hear that. You said you get into fights with your girlfriend. Can you talk more about that a little bit?
Um, well, they've been pretty physical. I try not to get that way, but the cops have been called a few times, due to like noise complaints and them hearing those yelling and things breaking every once in a while, but it's nothing too serious.
Okay, and do you feel like there's somewhere else you could go to get away from that hostility with your girlfriend, or
Um, well, we live together, so it's kind of hard to get away from them or away from her. Um, and my family lives out of the state, so there's not many places I could like go and stay the night at, but I like to go to the bar sometimes and drink a bit after a rough night.
okay? And I'm gonna circle back to where you said you were fired from your job. Can you tell me how that's like? How does that make you feel? Are you and your boss getting along afterwards, or
Well, no, not exactly. I'm feeling a lot of like hate towards him, like uncontrollable hate. Like every time I see him, every time I hear about him, it just makes me so angry. Um, I just feel like he's mistreated me throughout our whole or my whole career. And I've always dealt with it, and then all of a sudden I'm fired for what? No reason whatsoever. So I think he must have done something that kind of ruined my career. Um, so I'm feeling a lot of anger towards him, and I think that's maybe why I'm kind of like getting angry at my girlfriend recently because it's just I don't know, I feel like it's way too much right now. I'm feeling very stressed and I don't know where to put all that hate and emotions, and I just kind of take it out on my girlfriend, I guess.
okay? And have you ever made any threats to your boss or taken any action against them?
I've never taken any action against him, and I don't really I don't have a plan to really, but I've definitely said a few things out loud. I don't think he has ever heard me. say these things, but
Mhm.
I mean, a few things have slipped out.
Okay, can you tell me like what kind of things you've told him briefly?
Well, I'll talk to my colleagues before this whole fired situation happened, and I would just say like I wish he would disappear. Like, I don't know. I don't really feel too comfortable sharing exactly what I say.
Well,
Um,
that's all right. You don't have to share if you don't feel comfortable. Um, you did say you drink a little bit when you're feeling angry. Do you feel like that kind of adds into your anger, or does that make you angrier? Do you go home and get into fights, or
mm, yeah, I mean, I think it definitely has something. I feel like um I feel like when I drink, it's like a temporary um feel good. Like I feel good for a very little time, and but that feel good is just it feels so much better than having to be at home with my girlfriend who I just had a huge fight with. So it's
mhm.
like I think it's worth the few drinks than feeling. It's hard to explain because I feel good in that certain time, but then after a little bit I just get more angry. I feel like it's like the anger just doesn't stop. I'm just so pissed off at everything going on.
Understood. Do you have any support system? Anybody you could call and vent to them, or
I have a few older brothers that I can talk to. I do talk to them a little bit, and I have recently just about like my relationship and the situation going on about that.
okay, so let's eventually in the future we're gonna start implementing your brothers into your life a little more so you can use them as other types of resources so you don't take out your anger on anyone, even yourself. Um, I do have some difficult questions I have to ask you. Let me know if they make you feel uncomfortable, and we'll move forward from them. Okay, is that okay for you?
Yeah.
All right. The first question I have is, have you ever thought about harming yourself or like your girlfriend or anyone else around you?
Um, I think just my boss. I've never thought about hurting my girlfriend. It's just I get so fed up so quickly that some
Hmm.
things just happen. But I've never actually hit her. It's just like I'll throw like a pillow at her and yell at her very aggressively. Um, but I've never thought about harming myself or anything like that. It's yeah. I've never thought about hurting myself.
Okay. I'm really glad to hear that. And do you have any other coping skills you could use when you're feeling angry or down or
Um, Not that I know of. I think the drinking is just helping me a little bit during the situations, so that's what I'm planning on staying at.
okay. All right. So, I'm gonna send you some more resources on how to cope healthily with your anger and when you're feeling frustrated or sad or down. And hopefully we can kind of cut back on the drinking, um, and get you some more healthy support system, healthier environment. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, I don't want to hurt anyone, so I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a good idea.
Okay, and I do have some resources I'm going to send you, like I previously stated. One quick resource I can give to you is a crisis hotline. It's 988. You can call anytime you're feeling angry, down. Like I said, I know you don't plan on harming anyone, but just it's good to have just in case. Do you have any questions for me while we're moving forward?
No, I don't think I have any questions. I'm looking forward to kind of figuring out something else besides
Mhm.
drinking because I do feel a bit angry afterwards. So thank you.
Of course, it was really nice to meet you, and I'm looking forward to our next session, okay?
Nice meeting you as well. Thank you.